Hello, this is Kylie with Fim and Flow. I hope everyone's having a great day. Today, I want to talk about fourth dimensional influences. In a previous episode, I talked about how one way to instantly be happier in this earth experience is to understand the fourth dimension and understand fourth dimensional influences and to stop letting these fourth dimensional influences have an impact on you. So that's what I want to talk about today. And just a big picture view here, just in case you haven't listened to other episodes. In other episodes, I touched on how this earth is just one of many different experiences that we can have. And a lot of the other experiences that we build our eternal lives in are actually complete bliss, totally free, where we're sovereign beings and literally our life is happiness, bliss, and love. And what makes these experiences totally free with pure love and bliss is we are accessing and able to experience and pull in all of the energy of all of the nine dimensions. And that's what makes this earth experience different and not free and not total bliss because we are under a false matrix here on earth. And this false matrix purposely cuts off higher dimensional energies. And technically, other experiences that are bliss, they are technically matrices as well. But that's why we call Earth a false matrix. And the matrix just sets up the energy of that experience essentially. So, all of these different experiences, including Earth, they all have a fourth dimension. And I talk about this a lot, but the fourth dimension is a non physical realm, and it's the realm of archetypes, myths, and the collective mind. And the fourth dimension essentially sets the vibe of the physical experience. And the physical dimensions are dimensions 1 through 3. But when I say the dimensions 1 through 3 are physical, they're not necessarily separate places you're going. Like right now in the physical, we're experiencing all 1 through 3, those dimensional energies all at once. And this will make more sense if you listen to my other previous episode on the different dimensions. And essentially, in these other experiences that are totally free and bliss and where we build our eternal lives, we're experiencing all nine dimensions, that energy all at once, if that makes sense. But back to the fourth dimension. So, in all experiences, you can view the physical experiences as fairy tale land because they're all set up differently. And you get to choose what you like, and that's where you get to bounce around to these different experiences and build your eternal lives. So the fourth dimension sets the vibe of that physical fairy tale land. And when I talk about fourth dimensional influences outside of this and the other experiences, fourth dimensional influences are great and they're just what sets the vibe. So the fourth dimension isn't negative in any way in all of these other experiences. It's only Earth where the fourth dimension has been hijacked. So when I talk about fourth dimensional influences in this episode, I'm not talking about fourth dimensional influences overall. I'm only talking about here on Earth during this time where the fourth dimension has been hijacked. In other episodes, I've talked about how these beings that are now controlling the fourth dimension, in other podcasts, I call them the dark global elite. I've talked about how they got there, why this happened in other podcast episodes, so I won't go over that here. I mentioned in a previous episode that what we call demons are actually just an archetype of the fourth dimension. And the term fallen angel is also an archetype of the fourth dimension. And that's the same thing, demons, fallen angels. But those are the archetypes, and what they really stand for is this dark global elite that I talk about. And if when I say the word demon or fallen angel, it causes a lot of fear in you, don't let it. I know these words used to cause a lot of fear in me, but that is literally all programming of the fourth dimension. They want us to be extremely fearful of these words and these concepts. The idea of a demon and a fallen angel that we have here, they put out thought forms. I've talked about what that is before in other episodes. They put out these ideas and these concepts that they want us to grab a hold of because then that goes up into the fourth dimension collective mind and that sets the vibe. So the vibe has been set that demons and fallen angels are scary and fearful and powerful, and that they're something we should be extremely fearful of. Don't be fearful of them. I'll talk more about it, but just don't be fearful of them. You and me in our collective, we are so much more powerful than these beings. And I talk about it all the time. They actually have no power. They have to control and manipulate us by using the fourth dimension. So we actually create and manifest the reality we're living in. So they have to manipulate us into thinking we have no power and that they have the power. So we fear them, and that's just simply not true. And I know modern day Christianity seems to really give these archetypal demons a lot of power by instilling so much fear around them. And what's another thing that puts a lot of fear around demons and these dark archetypes in general? Horror films. They are literally using mainstream media programming, putting out thought forms like I talked about. They put the thought forms in our minds, so we put this fear around the archetypes in the collective mind. But this is kind of interesting because not all archetypes on Earth are bad or dark. There's actually still some fourth dimensional influences that predate and go back to before this Earth experience was hijacked. And one I'll mention, it's no coincidence, is something that Christianity and some other organized religions actually demonizes. And that is the zodiacs. And as you probably know, the zodiacs go along with astrology. We can learn a lot about ourselves and what's going on in society energetically by looking to the stars and the planets and how they're aligning and interacting with one another. And this magnificent, awesome setup where we can learn things from the stars and the planets and the constellations. This was a original fourth dimensional archetype of Earth. But current culture and the beings that hijacked the fourth dimension of Earth, they don't want you to know this because they want to keep the truth hidden. So mainstream media puts out these fluffy, light, silly versions of astrology so people think it's hocus pocus and means nothing. And then Christianity and other organized religions demonize it, say it's evil, all of that. You shouldn't be into it. You shouldn't listen to it. Like I've mentioned before, the dark global elite will try to control from all angles. It's not enough to just put them on one side and say, oh, this is their opinion that they're pushing, that it's evil. No, they'll definitely come up with an opposite way to try and trap you. You can't just think of things in terms of black and white. It's not black and white at all. And I've talked about this before, but we have duality here on Earth, and we should always try to avoid thinking in terms of duality and avoid black and white thinking. I've talked about it before that this dark global elite influences goes back even before the time of Jesus. That's where I begin the discussion a lot of the time because that's still a big influence in our society, but it goes back to very ancient cultures. And this is pretty interesting because it seems like some ancient cultures were more aware of these fourth dimensional influences than we are now. In some ancient cultures, like the ancient Greeks and other societies that had mythology around them, the gods of their mythology were just fourth dimensional archetypes. Society would have mystery plays where they acted out scenarios of the gods, essentially mocking them. And it's actually really good to mock these archetypes. When we mock them, it shows they don't control us or impact us negatively. If we take them seriously, we put fear towards them, and that gives them power. Drawing back to Christianity for a second, they put so much fear around these ideas of demons, which I mentioned are just archetypes of the fourth dimension and represent this dark global elite. They take them so seriously, put so much fear around them, and that is literally giving them power. But I've also mentioned it that early Christianity was certainly hijacked, and now it definitely follows the Luciferian agenda. They're trying to trick everyone and trying to tell people to just obey, behave, wait, and if you be good, then you'll be saved when your savior comes back. If you step back and think about this, it's so clear that they're just manipulating people. They're just controlling them with fear. One way I like to mock these archetypes is listening to the song Original Sin by Sophie Tucker. If you're interested, either look this up or it's also on my Femme and Flow Spotify playlist. But this song mocks the idea and concept of original sin. And if you're not familiar, the idea of original sin is that we are all born inherently sinful and we're born in sin, which is quite silly if you ask me. But, anyways, so I love this song and I listen to it, play it, dance around, and yes, I do it with the intention of mocking these archetypes. So if you're interested, look this song up, but I'll read some of the lyrics. Okay, it says, "So I think you've got something wrong with you. Something's not right with me too. It's not right with me. But the state that you're in is innocent. I just can't believe in what the F is original sin anyway." And then some of the later lyrics say, "A hurting hand is just connected to a hurting heart. Sometimes it happens with the more you know." I just love that. What the F is original sin anyway? This song is very fun and upbeat. And like I said, I really like to listen to it on walks or just listen to it and dance around. And yes, I do it with the intention of mocking the archetypes and mocking the idea of original sin. Because think about it, this idea traps so many people, and so many people actually believe this. When somebody believes they were born with sin, they lose their innocence and the bond with their souls at birth. And this is all done for a purpose. It's literally all connected. So, the first step in not letting these fourth dimensional archetypes of Earth, the dark global elite, control you or influence or have any impact on you is first just being aware that they exist and be aware of how the fourth dimension works and how it interacts with the other physical dimensions. And once you understand this, you'll be able to start pointing out and realizing on your own how these dark global elite are using these archetypes to attempt to control you. And you can just step back and understand it because there's so much power in just pointing something out and recognizing it. Once you do that, you basically stop it from letting it control or impact you. You can say, okay, I see that, whatever, water off my back. Like, not a big deal. I'm not letting it control me. So just step back, be an observer, and question everything. Just get in touch with your intuition, start listening to it, and not following the herd of society. Instead of following the herd of society, just start questioning everything. And like I said, this will instantly make you happier. But also, don't get caught up in fear around it. Don't think, oh my gosh, they're trying to control so much. I'm going to be fearful. No, don't let it cause any fear. Just be a stoic observer of it. There's no need to get dramatic or emotional. Just set your boundaries and remove yourself from the situation. Also, be very careful of what media, TV, and music you consume because they're truly working hugely in those areas. And they try to put so much programming and thought forms through the media, music, and TV. It's no coincidence these are huge industries with tons of money behind them, and people who are actors and musicians and pushing these narratives are paid a lot. It's no coincidence. And if you're more interested in that, go back to the episode on the pyramid of the dark global elite. And I have people in my life that I love and are so, so smart. And well, this isn't really the case currently, not as much. This was more in the past. They've kind of woken up to this. But I say to be stoic and don't put emotion towards it because I see some people, something will come on the news and they'll get extremely passionate and put so much emotion towards it. And I'll just stand there being stoic and not saying anything. Because what we shouldn't do is immediately react like that. That's exactly what this dark global elite wants us to do. When we react to the thought form, put our emotion towards it, that's when we're manifesting it for the dark global elite. So that is literally the opposite of what we want to do. What we want to do is, yeah, if it's on the news and you're seeing it and you can't help it, yeah, you can watch it, but really be careful. Be stoic. Don't put any emotion towards it and think, okay, I'm not going to automatically react. I just need some more time to think about it. And by think about it, I really mean tap into our higher power, tap into our intuition, and think of it from a higher self perspective, like a higher dimensional perspective. Think about it that way, not in your programmed earth mind way. And this is why I talk a lot about how important our nervous systems are. We really need to have a balanced and regulated nervous system so we are able to see stuff happen before us, but we can stay stoic about it and not go into fight or flight and not send emotion towards that. It's literally so, so important. And the dark global elite want us to have a dysregulated nervous system so we don't think it through. So we just spew emotions automatically and can't control ourselves. That's what they want. But we need to be fully, fully, fully in charge of our emotions. The goal is when things are happening around you, when negative thought forms are being put out over the news, or chaos is happening around you, you can just truly step back and truly be stoic and know I'm not going to react. I don't have an opinion in the moment. I need to step back and think about this and tap into my higher self and a higher perspective on this. Because here on earth, a lot of the times we have blinders on. Until we can connect to that higher dimensional energy and know how to pull that in, we have blinders on and we shouldn't be sending out emotions and quick judgment on situations. But now I'll move on because I mentioned alcohol. Alcohol is a huge tool of the global elite. and they use this specifically for a purpose. And it helps them numb you so they're able to control and manipulate you more via the fourth dimension. Alcohol might be the number one tool that the dark global elite use. Just think about how prominent and huge alcohol is in our culture. It's actually insane. And it really put it into perspective for me when I quit drinking and saw this alcohol culture with new, fresh eyes. And alcohol is not the only drug they push in order to have more control. They also push these other party drugs and pharmaceuticals. And since my spiritual awakening and this whole journey I've been on, this is one of the most baffling topics to me because there's such a huge juxtaposition between how it's beyond clear how alcohol and certain drugs are so, so bad for us, yet the culture around them is so huge. It's so clear to me that we need to have a huge cultural shift away from alcohol. Yet I see so many people around me not just drink frequently, but also seem to celebrate alcohol. We really need to wake up to this. To me, seeing how people around me consuming, celebrating, and even how they talk about alcohol is baffling. And frankly, it's creepy to me. It seems like a sleep zombie behavior. People celebrate, joke, and laugh about drinking too much. And seriously, it's so creepy to me. It's zombie puppet behavior. And that's exactly what alcohol does to you. It causes you to be so influenced by the fourth dimensional control, these dark global elite, that you turn into truly like a zombie puppet. And I'll be the first to admit that I drank way too much in college and was definitely into that culture. But looking back, I look back and see a creepy asleep zombie puppet. I'm not calling people out who drink because, hey, I've been there. I was in the same spot. I'm just saying, literally, we need to step back and think about this because it's actually creepy. But think about it, the dark global elite is completely preying on our youth. They're totally preying on the 18 to 21-year-old college aged kid whose brain isn't fully developed yet. And they're so influenced by popular culture and what's being pushed in society. It's literally pushed for a reason. And in college, there's all these groups because different people want to find their tribe and fit in. And who do you think is really pushing that culture? I'll just say it's not the kids setting the culture. It's all of these outside influences from the fourth dimension that's putting all of these ideas into mainstream media, music, TV, that's showing this idea that this is the cool, fun, sexy thing to do. Think of all the music around drinking too much, doing drugs, having casual sex, and think of movies that push this idea that that's so silly, so fun, that's what you do in college. That's the quintessential college experience. It's crazy. And this is a side note, but this is crazy to me. Did you know there's pharmaceutical companies that go to college kids and push drugs like Cialis that help you have a stronger and longer lasting erection? They are pushing those pharmaceuticals to kids in college between 18 and 21. That is absolutely maddening to me. And hey, I'm gonna step back. I don't put emotion out towards that, but gosh, what the heck? That's a problem. I've already mentioned what thought forms are and how the dark global elite uses thought forms to program the fourth dimension, which sets the vibe and makes up the collective consciousness. I mentioned a few of these thought forms that are really targeted at college kids, like the music, TV and how movies portray this time in your life. But think about some other thought forms that are really pushed in our society and that are prevalent in our society, frankly. Think of the ones surrounding alcohol in particular. We're very familiar with happy hour culture and how after work people just want to relax with a nice glass of alcohol or a cocktail, and how our day is so stressful that we need that to unwind. And how on a nice summer hot day, you just want to crack open a nice cold beer. And even think back to how cocaine is extremely romanticized and was for like the sexy, hot party crowd in the 80s. And it's still the stereotype of it is it's like a rich person's drug, and how prevalent the use is in big cities like New York and within the Wall Street finance culture. There's no coincidences here. And I don't even think alcohol is a subculture like party drugs are more of a subculture. Alcohol is truly embedded in the fabric of our society. Which I just said party drugs are more of a subculture, but think about the huge use of pharmaceutical drugs. That's also part of the norm. And we've seen how this subculture of party drugs can start from the pharmaceutical industry. And like I already mentioned, I stopped drinking about 2 years ago. And it's so eye opening that it is weirder in our current society if you don't drink than if you do drink. There's no word for someone who drinks every day or has multiple drinks. No word for that. That's just normal. But if you don't drink, you're considered sober. It's just it's so weird to me. It's more normal to drink every day, something that is literally poisoning you, gives you hangovers, gives you headaches, makes you not feel well, makes you act in ways that you don't align with. That's considered normal. But if you don't drink poison, you're asked why you're not drinking, and there's a term for it, sober. It is so out of line, so off base, so weird. So, like I mentioned, I stopped drinking about 2 years ago, and it started as more of an experiment to see how I felt. At that point, I was more sober curious, and I kept feeling really called to give up alcohol, and I had a huge interest in this for some reason. And I definitely think this is divinely led. A lot of things seem to be pointing me in that direction. I wouldn't feel well even after one drink or two, and it seemed like even if I had half a glass of wine, I wouldn't sleep well. And I need my sleep. If I don't sleep well, my next day is toast. Also, sometimes when I drink a bit, I would act in ways I wasn't proud of, even if it was just saying stupid things that sober me didn't resonate with. I think everyone can probably relate where they do or say things they aren't proud of or don't resonate with, even if they aren't huge mistakes. I see this all the time with people I love and people I'm close to. And I'm not judging it because, hey, I've been there too, but I'll see people start drinking and they just start acting in ways that is just not aligned with their true nature and act in ways that really isn't appealing. But like I said, I'm not judging. I've completely been there. I've definitely been the person who drinks too much and starts doing things that aren't appealing. And now I'll also see people start drinking, and I totally see the moment their eyes just change. It really looks like their soul just leaves their body. And it is creepy to watch. And now it's just really sad to me, and it makes me not want to hang around that setting. It makes me want to go home. There are just so many negatives of alcohol that it makes zero sense to me that it's so big in society. And it makes zero sense until you connect it with the dark global elite and their agenda and how the fourth dimension is set up and how fourth dimensional archetypes control the experience. Alcohol is completely pushed for a reason, and it's all part of this Dark Elite's plan. In another podcast, I talked about how when you have alcohol, or even when you're hungover, you no longer are radiating that torrential flow of energy. Your energetic barriers are completely shredded, and your energy is not working in the way that you are able to manage and create your own reality. And I didn't mention this part in the other episode where I talked about your energetic barriers and alcohol. But when you don't have those energetic barriers any longer because alcohol has shredded your energy body, then you're completely letting outside energy bombard you, which I did mention that part. Some of this I mentioned in another episode, but I'm adding some new stuff here. But when you are drinking alcohol and your energy body and your energy system and your energetic barriers and boundaries, they're shredded. We have an electromagnetic body and we have our energy boundaries and our energetic barriers. But when we are drinking, our energy body is shredded and we don't have those strong energetic boundaries anymore. So I talked about this on another podcast, but when our energy boundaries are shredded, we're letting outside energy just completely bombard us. And that can be energy of the people around you. Think about the energy in a dark bar or the energy of people just having no boundaries and going wild and being drunk. But you're also letting the fourth dimensional control that energy completely bombard you and completely influence you. It's really hard to see the truth of all of this and the truth of the false matrix when you're drinking and your energetic boundaries are shredded and you're just letting that fourth dimensional energy and control just constantly bombard you all the time. That is you letting the fourth dimensional archetypes completely control you and completely impact you. So I said one way to instantly be happier is to understand the fourth dimension and stop letting fourth dimensional influences impact or control you. And another step to that is to stop drinking alcohol and stop using party drugs if you're doing that. Alcohol and drugs let 4D influences impact you beyond even the thought form level. It impacts you on an energetic level. Our body is the tool we use to interact with the physical and create our own reality. So when we're drinking alcohol and it completely shreds our energy and it's harmful for our body, we should truly be looking at our body as a sacred vessel. It's literally how we interact with this physical world and how we create our reality. And like I said, that alcohol literally is a channel for darkness and evil. When our energetic field and our boundaries are shredded, we can easily be a channel for darkness or evil to come into. And yes, this is also known as possession. And I'm not saying every time you drink, you're getting possessed, but this does actually happen a lot in Hollywood and politics. Remember how I said Hollywood and politicians can be the perfect puppets for the global elite? And in a previous episode, I talked about how if your root chakra has trauma and is out of balance, this is how the dark global elite uses mind control on you. This is how they do mind control people. So then, if you layer on alcohol and drugs, that's where you get to this whole topic of possession. And all of this layered is the recipe for ultimate control. But you can even get energetically influenced and taken over, even if your chakra system is balanced, if you use alcohol and drugs. All of this layered is the recipe for ultimate control. But you don't even need all of this to happen to get in a bad spot. Even if your chakra system is all balanced and working properly, you can still even get energetically influenced and taken over just by using alcohol or drugs. Don't let this scare you though. I just want everyone to know how bad alcohol and drugs really are and how purposeful that alcohol culture is. Everyone needs to wake up to this, and most people don't understand the severity of this. But like I always mention, don't let this cause any fear in your body. Don't be afraid. Just wake up to this idea and understand what's going on here. Because, like, what I said still stands. You and me, we're way more powerful, way more divine, can control our own reality. We have all the power. The dark global elite doesn't. So we just need to wake up to the truth and understand all of these things in play. I'm definitely not sharing this to scare anyone. I'm just bringing it to the forefront so everyone can understand, and this is a step in truly taking our power back. And I definitely have empathy and compassion for people who don't understand all of this, so they just keep up with the same behavior around alcohol and fall into peer pressure. But like I've mentioned a lot, from my point of view now, looking in, it's so creepy and zombie behavior. And I don't mean zombie in a judgmental way. Like I've mentioned, it's no judgment to the individual. It's more of a macro level of what it does energetically. The macro view of it, what it's doing energetically, that's what's creepy to me. It's not the individual. It's just zombie vibes to me. But I do understand the fourth dimension really seems to have a chokehold on many people. And this 4D influence makes individuals want to fit in, to people please, to fall for peer pressure, and just go along with what society is pushing and just be part of the status quo. The 4D influences makes people feel self-conscious if they stand out. So if everyone else is drinking, they would feel weird saying no and being different. This 4D influence really turns people into sheeple, sheep people who just follow the herd and are afraid to go against the flow of society. And if you relate to this or you behave like this, don't feel bad. Just know you are currently allowing the fourth dimensional influence to impact you. And like I've mentioned, you will instantly be happier after recognizing this and taking steps to stop this. Being aware of this is the first step. Also, meditating and being more mindful would really help too. Anything that causes you to be able to step back, be the observer, and not let the stuff going on around you impact you. Just try it out. Be sober curious, like I said, how it started for me. If you're at a restaurant or a bar with others drinking, try it out. Just say no. I actually find it kind of thrilling. And just step back and observe. Once you watch other people start to act drunk or tipsy and you see the change in them, you really will not want to go back to alcohol again. The behavior is just not funny or cute. To me, it's gross and really off putting. And I see people I absolutely love and adore just turn into a different person. And it's not appealing. And I really think if you try this out, you'll see that too. But I will say it's really interesting because people around me, when I'm not drinking, they will talk to me and say how strong I must be or how they're really impressed because it takes a lot of willpower or a lot of strength to say no when everyone else around you is drinking. And to me, it's not hard at all. Like I said, I actually find it thrilling to say no. It just feels, I don't know, I just feel like I've stepped into my strength, you know? I feel more like I've stepped into my strength. But the way other people react around me and, say how strong I am and all of that, when I don't find it hard, I'm like, okay, this makes me think, I'm like, okay, maybe it's just way harder for other people. Maybe it's easier for me just because of my personality. And I do see where it might be easier for me because I've never been a joiner. When someone gives me expectations to act in a certain way or do something I don't like, if I don't agree, I do not feel obligated. If I'm tired or not in the mood to socialize, I don't feel obligated to stick around. I'm not a people pleaser, even though I do have empathy, love, and compassion for others. Being a people pleaser and caring about others is, those are different things. And when you stop drinking, definitely be prepared for people to ask questions about it. When I stopped drinking, I would get asked why all the time, and people would ask or assume that I was pregnant. But I will say, people are usually respectful about it. There was a time a man was really hounding me about it. He even bought me a drink and set it in front of me, even though I said no and no thanks literally about 5 times. And he also didn't even know why I wasn't drinking. I just said, "No thanks, I don't want anything." And then he made some joke about he doesn't care if I'm an alcoholic, like he's still going to put in front of me. He was acting very, very out of line. But he also assumed I would fall to peer pressure, and he even said something like, "If I put it in front of her, she'll drink it." And like I just said, that's absolutely not me. That actually makes me, even if I wanted it a little bit, if someone said that to me, I would want it way less. Like peer pressure actually makes me irritated because it's disrespectful and someone clearly invading your boundaries. And this guy, he owned bars and restaurants, and he even came and sat by me and asked me in depth my reasoning for not drinking. It was actually really, really uncomfortable, and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to leave this place." But like I said, peer pressure really doesn't work on me, and I really view peer pressure as someone disrespecting my boundaries, and I really view it as rude. If someone tries to peer pressure me or change my mind after I've already said no, or if they try to talk me into something I have a boundary about, it has absolutely the opposite effect. It has the absolute opposite effect of what they're going for. And it's very irritating to me. I don't get mad or emotional about it, but I'll draw a hard line and a hard boundary. And honestly, then I'll distance myself from that person. If there's someone who doesn't listen to what I want and keeps pushing me after I've drawn a boundary, it really shows they don't have respect for me or respect for my boundaries. And it shows they are actually quite selfish and don't care about the boundary I'm setting. They're just going to keep pushing me so they can get their way. That is completely disrespectful. And I won't put up with that. But I'm not going to be rude. I'm not going to be dramatic or emotional. And I'm not going to try to change that person. I'm simply silently going to exit. And I'm not going to put myself in those situations anymore. And I'm not going to spend time with that person. And I really think if you shift into this mindset, this aligns you with not letting 4D influences impact or control you. Back to my friend saying that they admire my strength around not drinking when everyone else is. So, this does not have to be hard though. Once you understand that this is part of the fourth dimensional control and that it's a channel for darkness and these dark global elite to control you, I think that makes it way easier automatically. If you still find it hard, then just still your mind, tune out distractions, be aware of what's going on around you, and be able to step back and look from an observer perspective, which is a higher self perspective. If you hear what I'm saying, but you're still a little confused about it, that's all you need to do. Meditate on it, step back, be mindful in nature, do these things that will put you more in alignment with your higher self. All right, that was a good one. Now I'll just kind of tie it up in a little bow and summarize. So, in this episode, I talked about what the fourth dimension is, which I go over that a lot, but I did a little recap and I talked about the fourth dimension of other experiences that are totally free. That's where Earth is moving into. And the current fourth dimension on Earth, which is essentially hijacked and has become put Earth into this false matrix system. Only some of the archetypes that the fourth dimension on Earth puts out are negative. There's still some original archetypes put in place. But we can instantly be happier by recognizing these fourth dimensional influences on Earth so we stop letting them impact and control us. And I went over how we can do that. And overall, just stepping back, healing our nervous system, and being able to fully control our emotions and truly be an observer in every situation. That will really help us. And we can get there by meditating, being really mindful, healing our nervous system, doing a lot of that kind of stuff. And a huge one is stop drinking alcohol and stop doing pharmaceutical drugs and party drugs. Alcohol is a huge tool of the dark global elite, and it causes us to really fall prey to fourth dimensional influences. So we need to wake up to this and take our power back. And one of the huge ways we can take our power back is to stop drinking alcohol. So I hope that was helpful. I hope it resonated. And if you like this, send to a friend, family, or your loved ones and rate my podcast. I would love that. I didn't really know I had any reviews, but I looked and saw one of my reviews on Apple Podcast. Thank you so much. Seriously, when I read that, I had tears in my eyes. I really, really feel so much gratitude and feel so thankful for that. And anytime I feel like I have helped anyone at all, my heart gets so big. And like I said, actual tears came to my eyes. It's so beyond meaningful to me. And this person said they sent it to their daughter. Oh my gosh, to know someone felt that it resonated so much they would send to their most loved person, their daughter. Seriously, it meant the world to me. Thank you so much. But I love you all, and I hope you like this, and have a great week.